Okay guys, this is the next sports psychology screencast, and this week we're going to be discussing different types of aggression. Aggression comes in three screencasts, but this one is just the initial terms of aggression. Okay, so an overview of aggression, and what we mean by aggression is that it's this concept of a forceful behaviour in sport. And there's a couple of definitions given by some famous authors here. This one's by Ball, and he describes aggression as any behaviour that's intended to harm, which is a key point, another individual by physical or verbal means. So it could be by pushing or punching or moving someone, or by shouting using various words or phrases. This one by Barron describes aggression as any form of behaviour directed towards the goal of harming or injuring another living being. So this concept of intention to harm, injuring, physical, verbal means, that's this whole notion of being aggressive in this concept that we're talking about. There are two different types of aggression you need to know about for the exam, and the first one is what we call hostile aggression, the second one is what we call channeled aggression or assertion. So we just give an overview of hostile aggression. So this idea of hostile aggression, it's this form of aggression where you're intending to harm or injure an opponent. Okay, so your direct intention is just to go out there and take the opponent out, essentially. And as I mentioned, you're aiming to inflict injury within hostile aggression. And the idea behind that is to cause disruption to the other team by being very aggressive in terms of injuring someone or harming an opponent. The aim of that style of aggression is to conflict with the cohesion of the opposite team. However, by you yourself being aggressive within a team atmosphere, it can also disrupt your own cohesive team performance. So for example, if we're in a team and we've got quite a placid introverted team, we work very well as a team collectively, and one of the players decides to become overly aggressive, then the other introverted players may take a step back and think about what's going on, and that might affect their cohesive team performance. So it's actually disrupted their own play by one person being aggressive. Good examples of hostile aggression, well, Mike Tyson in the late 90s actually bit an ear off Evander Holyfield within boxing. So obviously that's a very aggressive manoeuvre within boxing. And there have been multiple instances of punch-ups on the field of football, and I'm sure rugby of the same kind. So they're good instances of hostile aggression. The opposite to hostile aggression is channeled aggression, and sometimes this is labelled as assertion. An assertion can be identified as you're being aggressive but there's really no intention to harm or injure anybody else. You're being aggressive within the rules of the game, activity or sport. And essentially this often involves robust, forceful actions in order to complete a skill. So you're being very forceful, you're being very deliberate, but it's still within the confined rules of that game. Good examples here: sliding tackle in football or a shoulder barge in football essentially are within the rules of the game. You're being aggressive, you're showing some form of aggression, but it's channeled aggression, which is therefore assertion. The same could be said for if you're attempting to get the ball back in basketball as a steal. Without touching the opponent, you can still be overly aggressive, and therefore this is assertion because it's within the rules of the game. You're allowed to do that as long as you don't touch the opponent. That is assertion. Okay, if you make good notes as per usual, bring the notes with you to class, and we're going to develop this a little bit further this week.